On occasion, short of course for on occasion, AMC will do these Screen Unseen events on Mondays where you get to purchase a ticket, head out to the movies, and you don't know what you're gonna get. You could be witnessing a great hidden gem you otherwise wouldn't have gone out to watch, or you could be seeing the next Emilia Perez. You're rolling the dice on this. I like going to these for the former. There are many movies that come out every week that I don't get out to see and review, so it's nice when I'm kind of forced to sit down and watch something that otherwise I would probably ignore outright. And that certainly goes for the film I watched last night, East of Wall, with my buddy Chris. He's never been to one of these screenings before. He was quite excited about it. Wait, Adam, you're telling me we're seeing this before everyone else? That's crazy! Yeah, he was happy going into this. About halfway through the movie, he slowly turned to me and said, "I'm never going to one of these again." Say, before I mount my trusty steed and ride into this review, if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, that way future videos by me show up in your feed. And guess what? It's free. It's free of charge. All this content's free to you. East of Wall is written and directed by Kate Beecroft. I'm not familiar with her past work, but she has an eye for cinematography. This is a solid looking movie, although might I just suggest easing off the bokeh shots in your next movie. It's fine to do them, but every single shot having that soft background, it gets to be a bit much. As solid as the cinematography is, I unfortunately cannot say the same for the script. This movie is 1 hour and 40 minutes long. It feels well over 2 hours. This is a very, very slow movie to get through. And the reason it feels so tedious to watch is much like the camera shots, there's not a lot of focus here. East of Wall is being categorized as a docu-film, with Tabitha and her daughter Portia Zimiga being the main characters. They're essentially playing themselves. I say this movie's lacking focus because both Portia and Tabitha are gonna be kind of dual protagonists, kind of. A little bit. The grandma's sprinkled in off and on too, kind of turns into her show for a while in the middle. Portia, the teenage daughter, is gonna randomly narrate throughout the film. It doesn't happen often, and every time it does, it's a little jarring. Like, oh shit, I forgot she's kind of telling the story, but not really. What we have here in a nutshell is a drama, coming-of-age tale, focusing partly on Tabitha trying to run a ranch after the loss of her husband, and it's partially going to be on Portia understanding her role within the family and where she belongs next. Outside of Tabitha trying to pay the bills and keep this horse ranch going, she also has 7 mouths to feed. Some hers, a lot of them not. These are teenagers that choose to come to the ranch because their parents are dirtbags in and out of jail or just not being around. While I do think there is certainly a compelling narrative to be had here, the film just cannot seem to figure out which lane and which story it wants to go with this. So you don't ever really get that emotional connection to anyone. And all the actors, the kids, the adults, they're doing fine. No one's like blowing me away. There is a scene later where the movie goes completely off the rails and turns into like an AA meeting for a bunch of ladies who had trauma in their life. They go around the bonfire, swapping stories of misery, where the acting does seem to be getting a little over the top. Some of the actresses I feel like are going for the Academy Award here. There's just a lot of pageantry going on during story hour. The grandma will be sitting there, really chomping at what she wants to say next, really making a meal out of every single piece of dialogue she gets to utter. When I was young, I had some shit happen to me that I'm not particularly proud of. And I did the same thing to my daughter. Not like this. Not like this. The film is rated R, and it's entirely because of some of the salty language. These are folks from South Dakota in the Badlands. I have plenty of relatives over there myself. I've been to South Dakota quite a few times, and let me tell you, there's not a lot going on over there. Getting blackout drunk, swearing up a storm while riding a horse is basically every Tuesday afternoon for these people. And that's pretty much what you get for 1 hour and 40 minutes. Tabitha is basically the horse whisperer. She knows what these animals want at all hours of the day. She's the best of the best. She's what we in the industry would call a strong female lead. And for a film revolving around horses, quite frankly, it's about time. She even gets the strong female lead haircut, but goes way overboard with it. This may be a contender for the worst haircut I've ever seen in a movie ever. Like, holy shit, lady, pick a lane. You growing it out or you buzzing it off? And this woman does the same shitty buzz treatment to her poor children, too. So a chunk of this movie focuses on Tabitha's financial instability. She's running this ranch with just a few helpers and a whole lot of kids who are gonna chip in. She lost her husband, who we never got to meet, which would have been nice. I kept turning to my buddy throughout the movie every time he was brought up and said, he seems like a hell of a guy. Would have been nice to meet him. I mean, would it have been hard for the film to give us 10, 15 minutes with this character, bonding with his family, showing just how great life was on the ranch before it all went to shit? Because all we see is the burden and the struggles. But on the other hand, we also see that the struggles don't really mean much because she never at any point is in jeopardy of losing the ranch. No one's coming at her door, knocking on it saying, hey, you got a week left and you're out of here. In fact, there's a point where one of the kids in her possession that she doesn't have any sort of custody over goes to court with her because she wants to get custody, and the court tells them no, she's not financially stable enough to raise yet another child, have another mouth to feed. So what are the consequences of that? Nothing. He goes and lives there anyways. No one's checking in. He's there every single time we cut back. So I don't really know what the point of even showcasing that was. And there's no resolution to that arc. We don't see her make a bunch of money at the end and go, by the way, I'm now your mommy. No. There are so many facets of the film that just are unnecessary inclusions instead of picking a lane again and just driving with it. There's the horseback riding stuff where we see Portia. She's supposedly this incredible horse rider. We get like 2 scenes with her doing it, and they don't really amount to much other than look at her trophies. Okay, congratulations? Is there a plot here? Then we have actor Scoot McNairy as Roy. He's the guy that's gonna come in. He's gonna spend some buka bucks and try to buy this place from Tabitha. He knows she's not doing well, but he doesn't want her to change anything about the operation. So he doesn't even seem like an evil villain. He's just a guy looking to help out and learn something on the way. There's just all these little things that don't amount to much of anything. I mentioned the Badlands. There's gonna be some symbolic, picturesque moments where they fly over it from time to time. You got a drone shot looking down, very pretty, very A24-esque. It seems like the director watched some A24 movies and goes, okay, I wanna get a little bit artsy, but just dip a toe in. I don't wanna go too far with this thing. So we'll have some background music that kind of lumbers along, gets a little bit Hans Zimmer at times. We'll do some gravelly sounds in the background, but it's all just kind of meaningless fluff. Again, I think there was potential for this movie to be really good, or even good. As it stands, I was kind of miserably sitting through it, hoping it would end sooner than it did, and I couldn't leave the theater soon enough. And it's not because I hated the movie, it was just such a lullaby. It was so melancholy. And while sometimes that type of tone can work for a movie about grief, Moonlight Mile, I think, did a much better job handling that. It really rests on the narrative, and that's where East of Wall falls to pieces. Unfortunately, Seabiscuit, Secretariat, and Black Beauty, East of Wall is not. Let me know if you saw this one early as well and had the same thoughts, or maybe you thought, wow, this was great. I'm sure glad I went out. Good for you. I'm happy that you got something out of the movie that I and my buddy, who was super pissed at me afterwards, did not. Leave a comment below. Please, again, think of liking, subbing to the show Adam Does Movies on the different platforms I mentioned earlier, and hopefully, I see you later. Take care. If you appreciate my content, I am a one-man band. This is a ton of work, and you want a way to give back. Head on over to patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. There's tons of exclusive perks over there. Look at these awesome supporters so far. There's some of the best people on this planet, and you could be one of them. You could be right there alongside, and I would appreciate it.